Welcome to Lake Mitchell in beautiful Cadillac, Michigan. My name is John Bergsma. I'm the host of the Great Lakes Fisherman's Digest. Today we're joined by our guest, Don Fowler. Donnie, I think we're going to go do a little bluegill fishing. What do you think?
We're going to give it a try.
We might even pitch for a bass or two that comes too close to the boat, so stay tuned. You're watching the Great Lakes Fisherman's Digest. I'm free. It's nice if we get to it. That's what she's decent one now. That was right on the bed too. Yeah, that's a nice little sunfish. That's a perfect eater right there. One thing you got to really be all over when you're bed fishing like this is they have a tendency to take the hook really deep, really fast. So really pay attention to your bobber the second it hits the water, because typically when it hits, it's just going right down and it's gone. So we'll keep this one for Chef Grant's fish tacos a little later today. And now let me show you, to prevent those deep hooks, one of the things I'm doing is just using a really tiny piece of hook, worm, see, and just covering the tip. Sometimes if you get too much bait on there, they'll grab the tail or they'll grab the end and take your bobber down. You won't hook them and you'll end up just ripping it all apart. So just once you catch a fish or two, I'm just covering the tip. Right there's my tip, and watch, I'll throw this right in the water here. And that's all the bait you need to catch these fish. You don't need to go crazy with the bait at all. There, it's gone. There's a fish. Right there. Boy, I tell you, once you get your spot, you can really clean up on some nice gills. Again, a really nice eating size gill. Nothing big, but that's the kind you really want to keep. And I'll tell you, let me explain what we're doing right here. I've got a brand new Motor Guide XI5, and this boat doesn't even have a rope and an anchor in it right now. We just put it in the water for its maiden voyage. And what we're doing is we're finding an area of sunfish and bluegill beds, and I'm setting my bow into the wind, pushing my anchor mechanism on my new Motor Guide XI5, and it literally walking away. I'm in the back of the boat right now, and the boat is holding exactly where I push that button. Even though we're in probably a 7-8 mile an hour wind right now, it is sitting right here, not moving, and I'm able to just cast around. And when I'm done working this spot, I can just hit the anchor button, stops it. I can drive a little bit over, reposition the boat, hit the anchor again, and it sits right there. It's an amazing feature that if you're a fisherman, you've got to have that in your boat. There he is. Reel down, lift up, nice bluegill. Nice bluegill, boy, is he fighting. Oh yeah, that's a really nice bluegill. Classic colors, green back, little sunrise orange belly right there. It's a beautiful fish. Again, if you keep your boat positioned with the sun over your shoulders so that you can see into those beds and see into the water, it's important that you have polarized sunglasses on. If you can't see into the water, just seeing the top of the water is not good enough. You got to see all the way down into it, be able to see the discoloration of the bed. You notice how I lifted my rod tip, moved that bait just a little. Once that bait's hanging right over top of that bed, they're going to take it. It's a protection mechanism for them. Just like a bass on a bed, they're going to attack anything that comes to it. These bluegills are the same exact way.
Well, we're noticing today that the beds that are in the 18 to 2 foot of water don't seem to be holding any fish. And when we got out here to the 3 and 4 foot, every bed's got a fish. So they've apparently, they're done in there, or they've decided they like it deeper. It might be a little warmer or cooler, something. Yeah. But there's definitely a lot of them.
today we really focused on just light, simple fishing, and this is a great way to take kids fishing and introduce them to fishing. We used a simple rig of an 18-inch dropper below a sinker and just an everyday old slip bobber. I mean, the most basic way to fish. We used a number 6 gold Aberdeen hook, a number 8 split shot about 6 inches above that hook, and a simple leaf worm or red worm will do the trick every single time on spawning bluegills. Again, just a small amount of worm right there, just covering my tip. You can just see my tip of my hook is exposed there. Let's see if we can coax another one of these just close to the boat here.
Great Lakes Fisherman's Digest is brought to you by Lowrance Electronics, fish the finest. This segment is brought to you by Trax Tech, the ultimate fishing system.
Down. There you go.
As I said, I need 2, like jaws to get it
I'm
back
not even
up.
going to cast right. Oh, that's a nice one. Nice sunfish. Absolutely beautiful. I love the colors on them with the little orange dots. Oh, there he is. Got it.
A double.
Yep, a double, Don?
Yeah.
Oh, nice one. Oh yeah, yours is a real good one. Double. Keep close there, Donnie. We'll show off this double to him. Oh yeah, that's a really nice sunny there.
Pretty son, we got any.
Wow, is that beautiful. There you go. That's a nice fish. There's a nice fish. It's another perfect little, he's a little small actually. We'll let him grow up a little bit, but yeah, being right on top of the bite there. Didn't hurt the fish at all. Able to let him go and live another day. Today we were fishing Lake Mitchell over in Cadillac. That's in the central lower peninsula. And we had a really amazing time fishing bluegills today. That bite really happened, depending on the weather, sometime between the end of May and the first half of June. That 3-week window is when that bite happens, and if you're looking for a really exciting, fun, catch a lot of fish type scenario, this is a fantastic place to come. There's a nice gill. Oh yeah, nice sunfish. That's what we're looking for. Just a little bit of small inland lake bedding sunfish and bluegills today. And as you can see, this is a really nice eating size. We're going to be keeping some of the moderate sized ones, and we're going to be throwing the bigger ones back. It's really important when you get bedding fish. They're really vulnerable. You can take advantage of them. So just make sure you're returning the biggest fish back to the system, and you're keeping some of the moderate ones. We're going to keep these for Chef Grant to do some really nice fish tacos a little bit later in the show. A little one made a long cast. We're moving from one spot to another, and I saw a couple small beds just by themselves, and just made a quick flip cast in there, and that's, again, nothing to speak of, but a lot of fun. A lot of fun to find these bedding fish and just cast to them. Little one. This is, again, perfect bass fishing food, boy, I'll tell you what. I have a feeling, Don, that if we were pitching in here with bass baits, this could be ugly.
These docks. This would be a blast to have some little kids with you out here.
Oh, it'd be the best.
Catch these things left and right.
Look at these docks, too. I mean, you could catch these fish off the dock without any effort. Oh, that's another nice one. They cooperating for you, Don?
Yeah. They say they don't have teeth, but you can see the ones on his upper lip there. It's just it's how they hang on to the minnows and
everything they attack. That's a
bugs.
beautiful fish. It's a beautiful fish. Their fish have been by structure, and I'm not sure if that's just from being smart, because they're big and they realize that northerns are cruising these shallows. There's one working it really lightly, but I've noticed that even the bedding fish, it seems like some of the bigger ones, Don just caught that one right off of that little step, and I think they're still close to structure even though they're bedding. I knew there was a fish on that post. We just got done talking about that.
Not a big fish,
though. What?
Look at these beds right here that were out there we couldn't see.
Yeah, I know. We're gonna switch around the corner here and try to get some more quality fish. That's one thing when you're fishing beds, when the quality fish are gone, you start getting the smaller ones. The bigger fish will usually dominate the little ones until they're gone. And when you start getting the smaller fish, you can just go ahead and slide down 20, 30 yards on the beds. And you can usually get into all brand new stuff. If you look at the shoreline here, and I don't know if you can see it, the sun's overhead and it's shining right down. We can just see all the big beds dotted into the brown water here. So we're just gonna sit up where the wind's coming over our backs, and our XI5 is gonna hold us, and we're gonna be able to fish this whole area from one position just by hitting a button. I'm gonna start close to me, and I'm pretty sure it won't take too long for my bobber to go down. Stay out there, I'm proving our point that it's the deeper beds. These shallow beds are pretty much devoid of fish. Just fishing in the shallow side to see if there was any decent fish in the shallow side. This isn't that good of a fish by any means. It's a small one, but one of the advantages that you have when you fish an adjustable slip bobber rig, which is what we're fishing today, is the ability, by having this slip bobber in a short little monofilament leader. I've got some Trilene XL 4-pound test right here, a slip bobber with a stop. I'm able to slide that stop up or pull that stop back and adjust the depth that I'm fishing really easily, so I can go right from 2 foot or 18 inches all the way out to 3 or 4 foot. In other words, I can go from one side of the boat and start casting the other side of the boat with nothing more than just a slide of my hand, knowing from my graph that we're sitting in about 2.5 right now. I can guess 3 feet, and then I can go ahead and cast out, or I can shorten it up and I can turn and fish the shallow side of the boat. So using a slip bobber rig when you're fishing these bedding fish is really important. It looks like, ooh, a nice fish. Don's got a nice one there. That's a beauty, Don.
He hit that as I was reeling it in.
Additional consideration is provided by the Sands Resort, located on the east shore of Lake Cadillac, offering its guests 4 seasons of fun, and by Sunset Shores, Cadillac's premier lakeside resort, offering year-round rentals and ownership opportunities. Additional consideration is provided by the Days Inn of Cadillac, offering clean, affordable lodging featuring Adventure Island Summertime Water Park, and by Pine River Paddle Sports Center in Wellston, offering paddle sports tours, rentals, and quiet campground. The town of Cadillac sits in the northwest corner of Michigan's Lower Peninsula. Between the lakes and rivers nearby, fishermen can find almost any species of fish they'd like to fish for. Lakes Cadillac and Mitchell are the two favorites, with a short canal joining the two. Together, there's over 3,700 acres of great fishing opportunities. Both lakes are relatively shallow, with weed beds that hold fish. Pike, perch, walleye, bluegill, crappie, and both types of bass can be found in these waters. Lake Misaki is just down the road and also has some good fishing. Cadillac caters to sportsmen. With bait shops and lodging easily available, it's easy to pop into town and start fishing. 2 of the more popular resorts are located right on the water. The Sands sits between the 2 lakes, making it an ideal location to start a fishing trip. Sunset Shores is just down the road on the south shore of Lake Cadillac and has vacation rentals with private boat docks. No matter where you stay, there are plenty of things to do when you aren't on the water. Local eateries are plentiful throughout the area. Boat launches are maintained and can accommodate almost any size boat. There are also parks and beaches available for the public to enjoy. During the winter, Cadillac continues to be a destination with awesome ice fishing and great snowmobiling with hundreds of miles of trails. The Cadillac area definitely offers 4 seasons of fun.
When you're looking for bluegills in the early season, like we targeted here today, you're gonna start in the shallowest water, and usually in the black bottom bays on any lake. The sun penetrates the water and is attracted to black bottom bays first, and they usually warm up the quickest, and that usually attracts whatever available bait there is in the lake to those bays. And the bluegills come in behind those, usually pre-feeding before the spawn. Once they get ready to spawn, they're already in the shallow water. Then they migrate out down the shorelines and find the optimal type of base that they're looking for. Usually a sandy bottom or a gravelly bottom, but you can also find them very close to weed patches and marrow bottom bays like we had today. So we caught this larger one on that last cast because I saw a bed that was buried in the weeds, and we talked earlier in this segment about structure, and even though they're bedding, they like structure, whether it's boat docks or pontoon lifts, things like that. Well, the minute I saw that bed, I knew there was going to be a good fish on it, and we made a cast, and sure enough, this is the result, a really nice bluegill. Another cast right to that same bed. See the weeds it's going through right there? Really, really nice fish. I'm going to pull them right up out of these weeds, but this is exactly what we're talking about when we're talking about being attentive. Looking for, oh man, is this a nice bluegill. Oh, that right there is a monster. And that's the product of what we talked about, being attentive, looking for things like, little things like a few weed strands right around a bed versus just a whole open area with lots of beds. This was the next cast after that last really good one. We're not going to keep this fish. This is one of those that you really have to release. You've got to take care. Look at the size of that. That's just a gorgeous fish. But again, beds surrounded by weeds, structure, these bigger fish are going to hang in those beds. So let's gently let this fish go.
This segment brought to you by Ely, Minnesota. On the Boundary Waters Canoe Area, Ely, one of North America's last pure wilderness experiences.
Hi, my name is Grant Bergsma from Fisherman's Digest. Today we're going to show you how to cook up great, amazing bluegill tacos. My dad was out on Lake Mitchell earlier today and he caught a ton of them, so here's the easiest way to cook them. All right, we have our grill heated to medium high. We got our lemon, we got our pepper, we got our fish, and it's oil already, so we're ready to throw these guys on. Then we're just going to squeeze this right over top. Give them a nice bite. When you're putting these on, put them on at a little angle. That way they're easy to grab and they're not going to stick as much. All right, they've been grilling for about 3 minutes now with the lid closed. So we're going to flip them all over. We're going to throw our tacos on with the cheese. Let them go another minute and they'll be ready. I'm using cheddar, but you can use whatever you want. There we go, and we'll shut it up. Another minute and it'll be ready. All right, it's been a minute, so we're gonna open it up, see how they're looking. Perfect. Cheese is melted. These are firm. They're ready to come off. So next time you have a great day out on the water and bluegills fill your live well, you might want to think about making some grilled bluegill tacos. You'll be happy that you did.
There's another nice fish. Again, just drifting crazy, almost fast drifting. Fast drifting this. You got one too, Don? Yeah, double. Fast drifting these beds and just flipping, instead of flipping behind the boat, the key is to flip out in front of the boat so that your bobber is able to sit still for, you know, maybe 5, 10, 15 seconds and the fish is able to locate it. And so that's really the key. When you're drifting, you don't always have to be anchored. We were anchored most of the morning, but right now we just want to cover water. Not all of these beds have fish on them, and so we want to just pick them. And so you flip out in front of the boat on a 45 and you let it swing, and then you just burn it in and flip to another bed, and you're specific bed fishing. You're pitching right to individual beds, right like this. So I've picked out a bed right out in front of the boat, and I flip out like that, and I let the bobber stand up, and if it goes down, I got a fish. If it sits there for a little while, about halfway through my drift, I can bring it in halfway, let it reestablish, and we're just picking off these fish as they go. Right now we just drifted into some really nice weeds, and there's a bed right there. I really want to give this a chance right here. There's a good one. Wow. Some of these gills really, when they get in here, are really, really strong. I love them, even when they're not that big. That's a beautiful fish right there.
Look, another double.
Another double it is. Look at that. Beautiful sunfish. And this is just one of the most popular cottage lakes that we have in the entire Lower Peninsula, eh, Don?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Lake Mitchell has been an absolute place where people have gone for 50 years to go on family vacations. And when you've got this type of panfish present in a lake that gets as much fishing pressure as this lake does, that tells you about the quality of the fish that are in this lake. It's 2 more for the tacos.
We're gonna need a bigger boat.
Yep, you got a good one there, Don.
Boy, look at how pretty the colors are.
That's a nice one.
Whew. That thing is just gorgeous and big. Those are nice. A lot of fun to catch.
I did the long cast to the back of that pontoon boat that had a cover, and actually that was a really good tip, Don, you gave me. Don made the tip that you look at the pontoons that are covered and where you can clearly see there's very, very little activity. And then those beds in front of those pontoons won't be as heavily fished. And there's the result, a really nice panfish again. And you know, I never thought about that when you're on a lake looking at the boats that have 2-3 docks in a row with all the covers on the boats, and it looks like maybe there hasn't been much activity. This one happens to have a for sale sign in front of it. That's a great way to discern whether you can move in tighter to shore and go ahead and fish that shoreline a little more aggressively, because it's very likely that nobody's been on those docks fishing for these fish.
Look how thick that thing is.
Hey, thanks, Don, for taking me to all of these fish here. Look at that batch of pumpkin seeds and beautiful bluegills, all bedding fish. Thanks to Cadillac for having us in on Lake Mitchell here for a great show. Join us next week on the Great Lakes Fisherman's Digest.
Closed captioning provided by the Quality Inns of Escanaba, Manistee, and St. Ignace on US 2 in the eastern Upper Peninsula.
See in the background the same pontoon, we've been catching them off with a cover on it. And we found a school of some shallow ones that are really unmolested. So, oh, this is just a gorgeous, gorgeous bluegill. Look at this one.